I just meet people, learn what they're trying to do, communicate a little bit about myself, and it always circles back. If you meet, say, in your target market, one owner a week, just one person, and meet them for coffee, 52 meetings where people know what you're trying to do and you know what they're trying to accomplish. They just kind of come together. So when people know we're really good operators, we have this business model, we've done a lot of creative finance, they typically reach out and actually suggest it. That was a huge motivation for me. The other thing, I had set this goal and I set it a little late. It was like at the very end of me being 28 years old. I was like, I want to have 30 units by 30 years old. I ran into Cody. I had just turned 29. So I was like, well, I have 40 units. How do I get to 30? And so I was wargaming this with Cody, and he actually came over to my house one night and he's like, I have an idea. I can't help you get to 30 units, but there's a 38 plex, so I can get you to 42 because this is too big for me to take out. And I think after that conversation, it just clicked for me. I'm like, it was actually a little bit easier to close the 38 plex seller finance than it was the prior two duplexes. And it clicked for me right there. I'm like, oh, it's a little harder to manage, but it's not astronomically different buying a duplex and a 38 plex. The process is roughly the same, except that the 38 plex makes more money. Yeah. And from there, we scale a lot quicker.
I want to get into 38 here, but the first two preceding deal of duplexes, how did you buy them? Where did you come up with a down payment for those? Did you have some money saved up? Did you have a rich uncle? Did you raise some money, or what did you do?
Yeah, I wish I had the rich uncle. That's the nice thing. And I'm really grateful that I didn't. For both Cody and I, we didn't have any family help. And boy, that's really been good for the social media because we get all these posts every time we post anything. It's daddy's money. If you know where my rich dad is, I haven't found him yet. So please refer him to me. For me, working for CoStar, it's a relatively high paying job. So I'd saved up enough I bought myself my primary residence, the house that I'm in right now. I bought a duplex and I had just enough money to do the renovations. The second duplex, I bought hard money, 101% financed. I still don't know how I convinced them to do that, but they said, okay. I had to support the renovation cost, which was about $50,000. And I was totally out of money at that point. So my money got me my house and two duplexes. And from there, I'm like, well, all my assets cash flow minus my house, but my duplexes pay me more per month than my mortgage. So my real estate buys my real estate, and I'm totally out of money. So the other 91 units we bought through the next year, we had to get creative because I had some experience, I had some relationships, I had some time. We had absolutely no capital of our own from that point on.
Yeah. And so how did you guys solve that? So when Cody approached you about a 38 unit, how did you guys get into that?
So Cody was interesting. He never had any money or job to begin with. So he had to start from zero. And it took him about 9 months to find the first deal. But his first deal was a 12-plex seller financed in the county that we invest heavily in, Grant County. He did 10% down, and then he raised the 10%. And it was a fantastic deal. It cash flowed over $1,000 a month day one. And when you're 19 years old and you have your first deal and the cash flow is
living in your
4 figures every month, he's like,
living in your parents' couch.
Like, I made it.
Yeah, his expenses were kind of basically zero almost.
Yeah, exactly. So he did it with that one. He did it with his next 12-plex. And so he had already gotten a little bit of a rhythm doing these. We had never done a significant capital raise before, and Cody hadn't done a big capital raise by himself. He'd always had some partner. So when we came into the 38, we found a deal. It had been on market for 13 years at the same price. The income was absolutely garbage. However, the upside was huge, and you needed a really active team to take it on. So when you have, at the time, a 21-year-old and a 29-year-old who are super hungry and ready to go, I was like, okay, I see how we need to run this. We just can't go negative early in the game. We can't buy negative cash flow. So we got together with the owners, and this is where we started the whole relationship thing. Instead of going after deals, we learn who people are, what their goals are, and the significance behind them. The people selling this deal were a little bit older, and by a little bit, I mean in their 80s. They didn't know how to manage the property, and they wanted to retire on $10,000 a month. So instead of going after price like everyone had for 13 years, we just talked to them about terms. We're like, we need time to get the income up high enough to pay you $10,000 a month. So we just negotiated for a lower monthly payment, $300,000 down on a $2 million purchase. The deal's phenomenal. We raised it in 4 phone calls, our first time ever capital raising together. 3 investors came on as equity partners. We bought them out 6 months later. But we got that, I think last month, when we started, it was bringing in like $5,500 a month. Last month, 10 months after purchase, it was bringing in $28,000 a month, which is a little bit better and easy to service $10,000 a month debt. So that's how we structured that deal and how it came together. It was sitting there on LoopNet, available for anyone since Cody was 8 years old. So the deals are out there. You just have to be able to see them through a different lens than, hey, I want to beat someone up on price, or I'm focused on the deal. It's just, who's the person at the other end of the table? What do they need? And then you go back to Kiyosaki, it's how do I buy it? Not, let's force the deal through. It's how do we get to exactly what they want to do? If I can't do it today, let's come up with a straightforward path to get from point A to point B. And that's what we did.
What kind of objections do you run into when you're trying to go and get the seller finance deal?
Most of it, when it's on market, and we're almost exactly 50% on market, 50% off market. When it's on market, my objections usually come from the broker not understanding how to do seller financing. Our last deal, I can't tell you how many times the broker goes, okay, so it's interest only on a 30-year AM. I'm like, that's not possible. It's either it's not advertised if it's interest only. So it's brokers not knowing how to play the creative game is usually the objections, or they'll get weird about their commissions. I've run into very little resistance on seller financing. Since we're not going after the smaller properties, I actually network typically with people who have mastered the game, who've held the real estate for a while. They typically have a lower debt load on their assets. So when we get to conversing, I've never actually asked someone to sell a property. I've also never written an LOI before. I just meet people, learn what they're trying to do, communicate a little bit about myself, and it always circles back. If you meet, say, in your target market, one owner a week, just one person, and meet them for coffee, 52 meetings where people know what you're trying to do and you know what they're trying to accomplish. They just kind of come together. So when people know we're really good operators, we have this business model, we've done a lot of creative finance, they typically reach out and actually suggest it. So with owners, they usually offer it up to me. I know that's not the norm. I usually
how do you induce that though?
Brokers.
So what are you telling them to induce them to offer it to you? Because that's interesting.
I don't know that I like the word, the verbiage induce them to offer, but I am being a human. It's relationship-based sales. So Cody and I, we have a little mentorship group that we do, and in it we have a circle drill. And I've taken this from a few people, but it's just mastering how you tell your story. So you have 3 pieces to it. You have the relatability, which is just you go into the conversation. It's something that you find common ground. And from that, you communicate a goal and the significance behind that goal. And that's you. So for me, the big thing for me was I wanted to retire my wife because I'm not going to be political here at all, but Washington State education politics are a little bit odd. And my wife wanted to get out of teaching. And I was like, okay, well, how can we do that through real estate? So I started buying duplexes. When I started calling people who have 12 plexes, 38 plexes, larger buildings, the conversation was for relatability. Hey, I own the duplex down the street. We're property neighbors. Oh, well, I'm not selling. Awesome. I just spent all my money on that duplex, so I don't even know how I'd buy your property. I'm actually trying to figure out how to get my wife out of teaching. One duplex at times a little bit slow. I was curious how you bought this 12plex. I've now communicated in a few sentences a story that's true, that's just me and what I'm trying to do, and I've shifted it onto them. And usually when it's authentic, people will tell you a little bit about your story. You book a coffee meeting, you get face-to-face, and you learn how they got started in real estate. And a lot of those small to mid-size apartment buildings, a lot of people started where I did, where it's, hey, I didn't have anything. My family wasn't on board with real estate. I had to figure it out, and I get the story of how they figured it out. So, it's a longer process. I'm not shotgunning deals. It's very, very targeted. It's with individuals, it's relationships, and they'll do seller financing, not for some financial benefit. Like some people have all these reasons for hey, it's tax efficiencies, or you can get interest on your money. People do it because they want to help move us forward. And we understand what their needs are. There's an actual relationship. And with a relationship, there's trust. And with trust, they're like, okay, well, I'll seller finance because I know what you're trying to do and how you're going to operate this property. It's all non-recourse debt. So they believe that we will make that property that they're selling to us worth more, and their collateral will increase, which gives them a different level of comfort. And that's where we get stuff at, I think the lowest we've done is 4.5% down, seller financed on a 3% interest deal. You can get crazy with terms when you have trust and you understand the other party. And that's